Thanks for joining me in the Left Field Dreamers 25-day devotional. For the next 25 days, we'll go through a chapter of the book Left Field Dreamers, and we'll explore a devotional with a few questions that are going to help you find God even better in your life. Today's chapter is bad decisions, but good excuses. Let's talk about Jonah for a minute. God called a rebellious prophet to go speak to a wicked city so that they would come to know him. Kind of a weird combination, don't you think? God always calls unusual people to do extraordinary things. Hence the name Left Field Dreamers. Left field's not about playing baseball. It's about going out into an undiscovered territory, following Jesus on an adventure for the ride of your life. And it's about God using not the expected person to do something extraordinary. Well, let's dive into the book of Jonah. Jonah chapter 1. The word of the Lord came to Jonah of Amittai. Go to the great city of Nineveh and preach against it, because its wickedness has come up before me. God was fully aware of what was going on in Nineveh. I'm pretty sure there's a great possibility that Jonah even knew what was going on in Nineveh. Nineveh was an exceedingly wicked city. The people there were not followers of Jehovah. In fact, they hated people who followed Jehovah in Nineveh. The Assyrians, who were the population that lived in Nineveh, they had an all-out war against people who followed God. They were known for their, hang on, it's going to get PG-13 here for a minute, for violence. They were known for their torturous ways when they encountered people who followed God. They were the Israelites' worst enemies. In fact, history tells us that when cities would hear that the Assyrians were coming, they were so terrified that they would commit mass suicide, because it was going to be better and an easier way to die than to have to live with the torture that the Assyrians were going to put them through. Jonah had an opportunity to obey God. He had an opportunity to follow in God's plan for his life. And you know what? When given the opportunity to make one decision, Jonah went the wrong direction. How many of you have that happened to before? Because I know it's happened to me. Oftentimes God's going to ask me to do something and I'm going to be like, yeah, no, that sounds too hard, or I'm just not qualified, or I don't know what I'm doing. God asked me to write the Left Field Dreamer book in 45 days, to which I reminded him my last book took me a year to write. What was he thinking? How many of you have rolled your eyes at God on more than one occasion? I have. Well, Jonah was just a little bit like me, or maybe I was just a little bit like Jonah. And in my life, I have said no when I had the opportunity to say yes, to do something extraordinary for God. So my question to you today is, if you knew that God loved you, John 3:16, for God so loved the world, that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever would believe in him should not perish but have everlasting life. That includes you, but it also includes people that might be a little terrifying to you. But what would you do to share the love of God with people around you? When given the opportunity to make a decision for God and go in a direction that brings his plan to pass, would you choose to say yes, or would you go in the wrong direction? Maybe right now, as you sit here this morning or this afternoon or this evening, whenever you decide to do this video, you can recognize times in your life when you should have said yes to God and you said no. And maybe you just take a minute to repent and say, God, you know what? Your plan for me is good. Your thoughts towards me are good. What you've called me to do is good, even if I don't understand it at the time. And so I'm going to follow your plan for me. I hope during this 25-day study that you'll begin to open your heart to listen to exactly what God would ask you to do, that you would begin to say yes to God and follow God's direction and not go in the wrong direction. One decision, right direction. Let's go chase God for 25 days. Let's go see what amazing things God can do. Let's learn a little bit about ourselves along the way. And let's be Left Field Dreamers. Are you ready? It's going to be great. The ride's going to be bumpy at times, but it's always going to be an adventure. And God is always right beside us. And he never leaves us. And it's going to be awesome. And you know what? I can't wait to hear the stories of what God does in your life. So, if you're watching this video, You've got it from my website. Go to my website, send me an email, tell me how your God is using you. Share your comments. I want to invite you to go like my Facebook page, Melissa Zimmerman. He doesn't waste a thing. Let's put some comments there. Let's start some dialogue. It's going to be great. Until tomorrow, be a left field dreamer.